10 craziest things ever found in a human body. Number 10. A light bulb. If you're male and you find yourself in prison, dropping the soap is definitely something to be cautious about. If you're a man in a Pakistani prison, however, you should be more concerned about the light bulbs you may have shoved up your butt as you sleep. A man named Fateh Mohammed was serving a sentence for bootlegging when he received the surprise of his life. One night he went to bed just minding his own business, and the next thing he knew he was experiencing severe pain in his lower abdomen. As the pain increased, Fateh was taken to the hospital, where doctors were baffled as to how a large, unbroken light bulb ended up in the man's anus. Fateh denied any knowledge as to how it got there and claimed he must have been drugged at night and the other inmates or officers inserted it into him. A likely story. It took surgeons about an hour and a half to remove. He was able to make a full recovery following the surgery, despite the psychological trauma it must have involved. His fellow inmates now know Mohammed as the only man that has ever been able to bring light where the sun don't shine. Number 9. High-pressure air hose. Steve McCormack took the term freak accident to a whole new level when he accidentally fell onto a high-pressure air hose that had been inflating him like a balloon. As McCormack was working on the brakes for his truck, he slipped and fell onto the valve. As his son began calling for help, the only 2 ambulances in their small New Zealand town were busy, as was the medical helicopter. McCormack continued to grow larger and larger as his colleagues attempted to jiggle him off the valve with no success. At one point they were finally able to shut off the air, but McCormack was in excruciating pain as he had to lie there until help arrived. The air had filled every available crevice of McCormack's body, including behind his eyelids. This put dangerous pressure on his heart. When the needle to administer the morphine was placed in his skin, it shot right back out due to the pressure. His skin began to crackle like bubble wrap. After 3 days, McCormack was able to deflate through excessive flatulence and burping. He was able to make a full recovery following the accident. Number 8. Cobblestones. Many people have fights with their significant others, but few can claim that they decided to go consume more than 20 cobblestones out of pure rage. A woman from Foshan, China decided to do just that in 2006. She believed the stones could be digested the old-fashioned way, but when she began to experience severe stomach pain as the cobblestones banged together, she went to the hospital. Doctors were absolutely shocked at finding the 20 cobblestones lumped together in the bottom of her stomach. While doctors urged her to have surgery quickly, the girl decided to go the intelligent route and Google advice on medical forums. To the best of my knowledge, she did decide to have the surgery and was able to make a full recovery, despite most likely losing her boyfriend. Number 7. Various pieces of metal. A man was admitted to hospital when doctors found an 11-pound mass located in his stomach. The mass was so heavy that it was dragging his stomach down to his hips. The man's name is not known, but he had been previously admitted to the hospital for similar circumstances. The man decided to go to the hospital after his stomach pain grew so severe that he was unable to eat, drink, or have bowel movements. Doctors were shocked to find the man had eaten $650 worth of coins, necklaces, needles, and various other metal objects over a period of 10 years. Surgeons acted quickly to remove the foreign objects from his stomach, but he died from complications. The man was thought to be suffering from a psychological disorder known as pica, where people have the compulsion to eat non-edible objects. Number 6. 78 pieces of cutlery. While the X-ray of Margaret Dalman's stomach looks like she's housing a jellyfish, it's actually a mass of the 78 pieces of cutlery she decided to consume. She explained that when she went to eat food, she would end up eating her utensils instead. Furthermore, she had a mysterious aversion to eating knives, with forks and spoons being her utensils of choice. Also thought to be suffering from a severe case of pica, Dalman had been treated several times in the past for similar utensil complications, but this particular time she decided to consume the whole utensil canteen. Margaret was able to recover and is working on getting help for her pica. Number 5. Unexploded bomb. Channing Moss is now known as a true war hero after miraculously surviving an unexploded bomb being lodged in his lower abdomen. In 2011, he was on a routine patrol in Afghanistan in an armoured car when he and his crew were suddenly attacked by a barrage of rocket-propelled grenades sent at them that killed 2 of their men. The grenades were very powerful and capable of killing every human standing within a 30-foot range, but somehow it failed to detonate as it became lodged between Moss's hips. The team's only paramedic happened to be with Moss at the time and quickly took care of him. The medical helicopter was called, but it took many hours for it to arrive because of the fighting in the surrounding area. Not only was Moss in excruciating pain and forced to wait for hours for the helicopter, he was almost left for dead, being that the bomb endangered other soldiers, and the military had a rule against transporting injured soldiers that had it endangered others. Fortunately, the helicopter crew decided to go against military policy and agreed to take him to the nearest hospital. By the time he arrived, his heart had all but stopped due to the massive blood loss. Luckily, one of the few bomb experts happened to be at the hospital at the same time as Moss and was able to detonate the bomb in a safe location. Surgeons worked tirelessly, and Moss was able to make a full recovery and even walk again. He received the Purple Heart and Medal of Valor for his struggles. Number 4. Clothing. When 20-year-old Anuj Ranjan came in for a surgery to treat a chest infection, doctors were astounded to find a belt lodged inside of him from a car accident years earlier. He had gotten into the severe car accident in 2006, which had left him with a gaping wound in his abdomen. Ranjan had been suffering from tuberculosis and an infection at the time, which caused a passage to form in his chest. Ranjan was in need of surgery to fix the passage and help treat the infection in order to save his life. As doctors were finishing up his surgery, they suddenly found an 8-inch section of belt, along with some cloth fragments wedged between his lung and heart. The mystery of the infection had been solved, as was Ranjan's complaints of chronic chest pain. Number 3. Microphone stand. Usually, when a story starts out with a pregnant woman being impaled by a microphone, it definitely doesn't seem like it could end in any way but tragedy. Jessie Wickham's story, however, is one of extreme luck when she found herself with a 3-foot microphone stand sticking out of her after falling off a loft. Despite the danger of not only being impaled by the microphone, but the 20-foot fall itself, Wickman only suffered a punctured lung as the mic missed both her baby and her heart by only millimeters. She instructed her kids to call 911 and was soon airlifted to hospital. While it probably didn't go the way she pictured it would, surgeons were able to deliver the baby unharmed by C-section. Medics decided to leave the stand inside her until she arrived at the hospital, where it was surgically removed. She made a full recovery, as did her baby. Number 2. A stone baby. 9 months seems like a long time to most expectant mothers, but how about 60 years? Huan Zhiyun, a 92-year-old woman from China, baffled doctors as she delivered a baby made of stone. In a very rare case of lithopedia, the fertilized egg became stuck outside of the uterus, and being that it was already too far along in development, the egg didn't break down like it usually does. As the child continued to develop, it was calcified and never removed because her body never saw it as an unnatural object. She lived over half a century with the stone baby and never made an attempt to remove it because of her lack of money. Yuzhen had been visiting the hospital for an unrelated injury to her stomach when the fetus was found and delivered. It hadn't caused her much discomfort, despite being quite heavy. Yuzhen made a full recovery following the delivery. Number 1. Pea plant. In 2009, Ron Sveden received the news that no one wanted to hear when he was rushed to Cape Cod Hospital. They told him that they had found a mass in his lungs and had to do a biopsy to learn more. It had all started a few months prior when he began to suffer from fatigue, loss of appetite, shortness of breath, and frequent coughing. The 75-year-old had been a lifelong smoker and feared the worst when he was given the news of the mass. His condition had rapidly worsened and he was rushed to a hospital where he spent 10 days waiting for the news he expected to be lung cancer. After doing an X-ray, the doctors had found Sveden's lung had actually collapsed and contained some sort of dark mass. After further testing, doctors were amazed to find the mass wasn't actually a tumour. The mass had been a small pea plant that had begun to grow in the man's lung. Sveden had told doctors that he thought the pea pod had just gone the wrong way. Fortunately, doctors were able to quickly operate on Sveden and remove the now half-inch long plant from his lung. After his operation, the hospital staff decided there was nothing better to give him for his first meal than some peas, which he gladly consumed. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button in the top right. Our channel has loads of other awesome videos just like this.